It is important for us to find out the stories of the Chinese Anzacs in World War I because we want to show that the Chinese Australians have been so much part of this country that they were prepared to fight for it. As one Chinese Australian soldier has said, if this country is good enough for me to live in, it is good enough for me to fight for. Some of the most surprising, interesting story that we've discovered during this process is that there were many families who fought together and enlisted as a family. There were also lots of brothers and cousins from these families who fought in the war. And in addition, we also discovered that while an Act of Parliament in 1909 exempted those not of substantially European descent from enlisting in the army, there were close to 200 Chinese Australians who accepted into the army despite the Act of Parliament, because the medical officers in charge of the selection went colorblind and decided to accept these soldiers into the ranks of the Australian Imperial Forces. I think the stereotype that has been up to now in the minds of Australians is that the Chinese Australians were not part of the conflict of World War I. However, we now discovered that they, like the Indigenous brothers, were very much part of World War I conflict. And Australians of non-Chinese origin may realize that way back in the 1900s, Chinese Australians were very much part of the country, to the degree that they are soldiers fighting for this country. The most important outcome we wish through this exhibition is that Chinese Australians, as well their non-Chinese Australian brothers and sisters, will own the history of the Chinese Australians in this country. We hope also that the descendants of our Chinese Anzacs will shed their discomfort about telling the story of the grandparents and their ancestors and bring the stories to us, for us to actually collect them, store them, and maybe to also improve on our exhibition to tell their stories. There must be a lot of history in families, in trunks and drawers and photographs, love letters that we will wish to have. So for those of you who actually have that kind of contact, give us a call and we will collect your stories and maybe one day have a big exhibition of Chinese Anzacs and what happened to them after they came